Thank you, Nancy. I've been a lobbyist in Washington for more years than I care to mention. And in the last several years, it's been a tough place to make progress on anything in a bipartisan fashion. The issues facing the disability community have traditionally been an area where members of Congress, from the most conservative to the most liberal, iconic names like Ted Kennedy and Bob Dole, could come together and craft legislation that enhanced the lives of people with disabilities. So about 10 years ago, when people in the disability movement started brainstorming the beginnings of what became the Achieving a Better Life Experience Act, or ABLE Act, we had hope it could be enacted swiftly. Over the years, as Washington became more entrenched in gridlock, the people we are honoring here today worked together year after year to advance this legislation amidst an atmosphere that worked against us. Finally, in the final days of 2014, Congress passed and President Obama signed the ABLE Act. The ABLE Act changes the tax code to allow for tax advantage savings accounts for individuals with disabilities for certain expenses, like education, housing, transportation. Similar to existing Section 529 education savings accounts, ABLE accounts will let families save for disability-related expenses on behalf of qualified beneficiaries with disabilities that will supplement but not replace benefits provided through the Medicaid program, the Supplemental Security Income program, and the beneficiary's employment or other sources. Today we are honoring 9 members of Congress, 4 senators, and 5 members of the House of Representatives. That includes 6 Republicans and 3 Democrats who made it their mission to work together, use their positions of power in each chamber, and their personal experiences with disability and their families to get this done for our community. Because Congress is in session and they are dealing with the federal budget and other major issues, including leadership issues, they were not able to join us here today. They will each be receiving this award for the work that they and their staffs did to make this bill a reality. And we, in fact, have a video that includes presentations from each of them, or from most of them. So let's hear from them right now. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Congressman Andrew Crenshaw, and I appreciate the opportunity to say a few words about a historic achievement that we can all be proud of. The ABLE Act is now the law of the land, and that means millions of Americans living with disabilities have the opportunity for a brighter future through the use of tax-free savings accounts. These are the same tax-free savings accounts that are available to other citizens. The idea sounds simple enough, but those of you at the ARC, the hundreds of other disability advocacy groups, and individual supporters across this country know how much focus and hard work was needed to bring this dream to a reality. Yet, no one shied away. Everyone kept coming back to Congress and spreading the word that this kitchen table idea needed to become law. That dedication made the difference. It was the winning formula that allowed us to build support and score such a landmark victory. I want to thank the ARC for honoring me for my work on the ABLE Act. I deeply appreciate it. But make no mistake about it, teamwork made it possible for the ABLE dream to come true. And that's a win for all of us.
Hello, it's an honor to receive the ARC's Catalyst Award for Public Policy Victory of the Year, along with my fellow ABLE champions, including Congressman Crenshaw, Congressman Van Hollen, and of course my ABLE co-lead in the Senate, Senator Richard Burr. And we also want to thank the staffs, and my staff in particular at the time of the passage of ABLE, it was Jennifer McCloskey. So every one of us as members of Congress benefited from the hard work of our staff. Of course, we all benefited from meeting advocates, advocates from ARC and other organizations around the country. One of the most determined and effective advocates I met was Sarah Wolf. We happened to live in the same home county, but I didn't know Sarah as well as I did after going through the battles of getting ABLE passed. So I'm grateful for Sarah's help. She not only was a great advocate for ABLE, but he even gave us a great line towards the end of the debate about how we must stay pumped. That was literally her words, stay pumped to get it passed, and that was good advice by Sarah Wolf. We believe that every person who has a disability has a lot of ability. They have so much to contribute in their work and in our communities, and we just have to make sure that they have the tools to be able to reach their full potential.
Hi, I'm Chris Van Hollen, a member of Congress from Maryland. I'm sorry not to be able to join you in person, but I want you to know how grateful I am to be recognized alongside the rest of this year's honorees as part of the ARC's inaugural Catalyst Awards. Most of all, I am grateful to the ARC for the invaluable work you do in Maryland and across the country. The reality is that you are the true catalysts. For over 8 years, with persistence, determination, and grace, you came to Washington to tell your stories to your elected representatives until the ABLE Act at long last became an idea whose time had come. During a time of perceived dysfunction and widely reported cynicism among many Americans about the ability of their government to function, the Stephen Beck Jr. ABLE Act is a reminder of what is possible when people of goodwill come together in common cause for the good of the country.
Good afternoon. I'm Senator Orrin, Chairman of the United States Senate Finance Committee. While I can't be with you in Indianapolis today, I'm deeply honored to be a part of today's event and appreciate receiving such distinguished recognition from the ARC. But frankly, I have to say that it's your organization, the ARC, and the countless parents, siblings, family members, and close friends of those with disabilities that make up your membership that deserve congratulations today. Thanks to your tireless efforts and commitment to improving the lives of Americans with disabilities, we now have a new law in the books that will give these individuals the tools they need to help lay the groundwork for a better, brighter, and more independent future.
Thank you to the ARC for recognizing the ABLE Act as the public policy victory of the year. The real winners are the children and families who now have more options to plan for a better future. It's an honor to be part of this effort, which will help Americans with disabilities achieve their purpose and fulfill their God-given gifts. Thank you.
Hello, Congressman Pete Sessions from Dallas, Texas, and it's an awesome opportunity for me to join you today as the National ARC Public Policy Victory of the Year Award winner for 2015. The chance for me to be with you today is exciting, and I want to take just a few minutes and tell you about my pathway, my story, about not only becoming involved to receive this award, but the years of service that I've had to the disability community. And it all started on January 19th, 1994 with the birth of my son, Alexander Gregory Sessions. And Alex was born to a beautiful family in Dallas, Texas, a beautiful family that believed that he would be the greatest thing ever. He would be the greatest thing ever to happen to our family, and it's been true. Alexander Sessions is today 21 years old, has graduated from high school, Notre Dame High School in Dallas, Texas, is a Eagle Scout and a really cool guy. Thank you very much for allowing me to be here with you today. Thank you for coming to Indiana to celebrate this important event, and I look forward to each of you coming to Washington, D.C. to tell me your story also. Thank you, and God bless each and every one of you.
Please welcome to the stage member of the ARC's Board of Directors, Fred Misilo.
I get pumped just watching that video. It's my pleasure to introduce our next award winner in the category of Public Policy Victory of the Year, Sarah Wolf. Sarah's been a persistent and powerful advocate on behalf of the ABLE Act with her Senator Bob Casey of Pennsylvania. She also led the charge across the country to garner support for it, initiating a Change.org online petition in support of ABLE. Her petition garnered over 300,000 signatures. The staff at Change.org has informed Sarah that her petition was one of the 5 largest on record, started on their site. Now that's incredible. Sarah's a tireless advocate and always finds time to engage those interested in meeting her, all while maintaining a part-time job as a clerk in a law office, serving on the boards of the ARC of Northeastern Pennsylvania and the ARC of Pennsylvania, and on the board of the National Down Syndrome Society. Please join me in congratulating Sarah Wolf.
Hi, everyone. I didn't prepare a speech, but I can just wing it, I guess. So I just want to say thank you for this tremendous award for public policy on the ABLE Act. And it was a pleasure to work with Senator Casey. Me and him, at the time, in the beginning of ABLE, I had no idea that he was one of the first co-sponsors of the bill. So I got very excited. So I just want to thank him and all his efforts and all his colleagues in the House, and also to all the ARCs that I'm involved with, my local ARC, the state ARC of PA, and also the National Down Syndrome Society. And lastly, I want to say, I don't want to cry because thinking about her, but my mom passed away 2 years ago, and she is one of those champions that got able to, so that's why I was so determined, because she would love to be here right now and be part of ABLE. So thank you very much for this award.
Next, I'm pleased to honor Stephen Beck Jr. for his role in passing the ABLE Act. Stephen was one of those parent advocates who came up with the initial idea for what became the ABLE Act, and he worked for the better part of 10 years to bring it to fruition, working with representatives of national organizations in Washington, D.C., and with the staff on Capitol Hill, particularly Congressman Crenshaw's staff. He worked on initial drafting, meetings with House and Senate offices, advocacy organizations that wanted changes, congressional committee staff, and on the effort to build the support needed for passage. It may have taken 4 or 5 Congresses to achieve, but Steve was in it for the long haul and remained a calm, guiding force throughout the effort. Unfortunately, Stephen died just after passage in the House and before Senate passage. But we believe that Steve was with us as the bill got over the finish line, and when the Senate stamped its approval and President Obama took pen to paper, signing into law December last year. Because of his influence throughout the process, the House of Representatives renamed the bill the Stephen Beck Jr. Achieving a Better Life Experience Act of 2014. His wife, Catherine, is here with us today to accept this award on Stephen's behalf. Catherine.
Thank you to the ARC, and thank you, Marty Ford, for being a partner with Stephen in the development and the whole process with the ABLE Act. Everyone involved in the process recognized that bringing ABLE to fruition was a group effort. They agreed that Stephen was the undaunted and unifying force behind its success. He enlisted the priceless help of self-advocates and their families to speak strongly for themselves. He rallied support of various advocacy groups to gain congressional support. The remarkable aspect of this story is that prior to his involvement in ABLE, Stephen had no experience as a lobbyist. He was a devoted dad, a father dedicated to working unpaid hours to correct an injustice. He went knocking on the doors of the United States Congress as a citizen with a worthy mission and a passion to set things right. Setback after setback, he continued to plead his case and garner support, and they finally listened. If you were to speak to Stephen, I know he would say, it was the self-advocates who made the difference. The self-advocates were the real power behind ABLE becoming a reality. They continue to be the power behind ABLE, rapidly passing in over 30 states in the last 10 months. Who knew that we had such power? President Obama addressed the nation this past summer concerning the 25th year anniversary of the American with Disabilities Act. During this speech, he stated, "We've got to tear down the barriers externally, but we also have to tear down the barriers internally. That's our responsibility as Americans, and it's our responsibility as fellow human beings. We've still got to do more to make sure that children and adults with disabilities get every opportunity to learn, acquire the skills and the sense of self-worth that will last a lifetime. That is our most sacred charge." Stephen believed that, and he proved that we can make a difference. He helped repair a part of the world that was broken. Now it's us to keep this momentum going. The ABLE Act is not complete. We must keep focused on the spirit of the Act and work properly to fine-tune this legislation. We must continue to push forward support with initiatives that promote self-determination and that are flexible enough to meet the varying needs of our community. I cannot think of anyone more suited for this role than Marty Ford. Marty was there throughout the development of this legislation. Marty is an unwavering advocate for the art community. For this reason, I would like to share this award with Marty. Marty, your name should be on this award with Stephen. And I think that you should keep this award because you helped accomplish this goal. This reward is a reminder of what we have accomplished and what we continue to do as a collective partnership and a collective power to help get every individual with a challenge in our nation out of the box. Thank you. She doesn't see.
I want to thank Catherine for being here today. She's remarkable. And I want to thank her because her entire family supported Steve in his work. He clearly, he had a full-time job. He was totally a volunteer. And he was on the Hill with us all the time. He was leading our lobbying effort, basically. And we totally appreciate the efforts that Catherine and her family made, the sacrifices they made as a family so that Steve could be such a dedicated full-time advocate. So thank you again, Catherine. Finally, I would like to say a few words about my friend John Ariale, former Chief of Staff to Congressman Crenshaw, who you saw in the video, the first clip on the video. For every member of Congress, there is a dedicated staff person working behind the scenes to advance the priorities of the member and the issues important to his or her constituents. I met John in the early days when work on the ABLE Act required lots of compromise and tugging and pulling to figure out what should be in the bill and what had to be dropped. It is due to the dedication and leadership of John and Mr. Crenshaw that they listen to families and people with disabilities, and that the ABLE Act is designed to meet the needs of people who will use it. Throughout John's tenure with Congressman Crenshaw, the initial lead sponsor of the ABLE Act, we went through many highs and lows. John never gave up. He always looked for the opportunity to get ABLE through the next legislative or political hurdle, and there were many. John spearheaded the bipartisan efforts because he knew that this kind of legislation should know no political boundaries and would make an impact in the lives of people with IDD. Congressional staff are often the unsung heroes when it comes to crafting laws. Today, the ARC is raising its voice to thank John for his dedication to our cause and for his hard work to help people with IDD and their families save for their future. Please welcome to the stage our final winner in the category of Public Policy Victory of the Year, John.
Thank you.
Oh.
Whoops. I turned it.
I turned it already accidentally.
Thank you very much. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you, Marty. Thank you to the ARC. And thank you to all of you for being out here today to be here for the Catalyst Award. It is an absolute honor to be one of the inaugural winners of the Catalyst Awards. During my 24-year career on the Hill, I had the privilege of being involved in many projects, got to meet tons of people, got to do some amazing things I never thought would be possible the minute I walked into my very first internship into the Longworth House Office building in 1983. Yeah, I just dated myself badly. And despite that rich and rewarding and fulfilling career on Capitol Hill, I will honestly tell you that nothing I did, nothing that I was involved in was as fulfilling as watching the ABLE Act come to fruition and pass in the United States House and the Senate. It was a highlight of my career. During our work, and I say our work, I'm going to use the words like ours and we, because it was a family event. It was an amazing coalition of people and interested parties that all had a common goal in effect. We had an opportunity to meet with amazing dedicated advocates from all over the country. And during that period of time of that 8-year labor of love, we developed friendships. Among those people I call the Becks, Steve and his family, and Marty Ford, some of my best friends on Capitol Hill as a result of this joint experience. And Sarah, too. Got to know Sarah very well. As we approached the final days of the 113th Congress, there was an amazing groundswell. You could feel the electricity of groundswell of external support for the legislation. And that was created because of people like you that talked to your people, your elected representatives back home, got people excited about the legislation. But while you were out there doing your thing, we were inside the building trying to do what we could do to deal with the politics of passing, which is something called a standalone piece of legislation, which, as you all know, in Washington, D.C., is extremely rare these days. It's usually attached to something or a big part of something else, and yet we had a vote on the ABLE bill on the floor. We had to deal with funding questions and pay-fors and all that other stuff that was happening behind the scenes while this amazing groundswell of support was happening outside. And what started as a simple, concerned group of parents coming into our office turned into this amazing opportunity to combine staffers with a similar vision and concern so that we could all work together for the passage of the bill. Without that group of people and the combined energy of everybody on the outside, we would not have an ABLE bill today. So while this is an amazing honor and recognition for what we did and my role in it, I accept it, and I want to dedicate this to all the army of staffers out there who really helped us push this thing over the goal line. So they deserve a lot of the credit. We all want to make sure that they get it as well. In closing, while the ABLE bill will have a lasting effect on what we hope it was intended to do, and some people have said already we have to make some fixes to it and do some other things with it, I hope the lasting legacy of the ABLE Act is the fact that we began a national dialogue as a result of passing this legislation, a dialogue that really, I think, alerted and concerned some of our elected officials and staff to the antiquated laws in this country that force people with disabilities to live in a life of poverty in many cases. And the ABLE Act was a single step in the right direction, but it's only the beginning. We really have talked about catalysts today, and I think the ABLE Act is a catalyst for us to continue to build upon that momentum so that we will do everything we can to remove additional boundaries and additional restrictions that leave people with disabilities trapped in poverty. Thank you very much for the recognition. I really appreciate it.